Good afternoon, Jeff. Thanks for joining us today. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your business before we get started with the business spotlight?
Yeah, Mike, I appreciate you having me on. My name is Jeff Garner. I've been a real estate broker since 1997, specializing in investments. For the most of my career is flips, wholesales, buying rentals for myself. Now I focus all my energies toward our management side of our business, and I started Homestretch Property Management.
Great. Thank you
Homestretch,
for
yeah.
keep going. No, keep going. Tell us a little bit of home search.
Okay, so Homestretch came from um, building a team to manage properties for myself. I had 110 rental properties that I bought in a 3-year period, so we ramped up really fast. I bought them
Wow.
yeah. So we bought
Hmm.
them one at a time, renovated them, and placed tenants in them. So there was all courthouse steps or foreclosures, things like that. So we did a lot of work in a short period of time. And I outsourced the management and found out that there's not a lot of good management out there. Not only that is a lot of these management companies out there, they've never owned property. So they don't know it from an owner's perspective. So I built a management company to make sure that we placed the right tenants and had our vacancy percentages as low as possible, and that the properties were taken care of. So someday I could refi them or sell them. After a few years of doing that, and having people come to me continuously wanting me to take on their management because they're experiencing the same thing, we decided to open it up a couple years ago to outside clients. And honestly, after being in business for myself since '97, basically buying properties for myself for rentals and or flipping them and wholesaling to other investors, it was kind of nice to switch gears and take all those resources that I built up and use them to help other people do what I had been doing. So we built a management company, kind of owner centric, and to try to fill the hole in the space, to just give really good management for a fair price. So I just took the team I built to manage my own properties, and we expanded it, and we're growing to 500 properties now. And our next goal is 1,000. So we should be there in a couple of years.
Well,
So
phenomenal. So this is the first time you and I have talked, so it's not a plug for you, but I
yeah,
actually had 6 rental properties. I had them for 16 years,
yeah,
and I started putting them out to to a management company the last 3 years,
yeah,
and they were so bad, I ended up just wanting to sell them.
yeah.
So I got rid of them. So what you're saying is absolutely true, that there is a need for quality property management, not just someone who collects a check, mails it to you, and does the processing, right? So,
Absolutely,
all right.
absolutely.
So I'm asking a series of questions, and
Okay.
these are just questions that you and I are here to chat about as it relates to your business. So if you had to
Great.
start over, you talked about from 1987 on to today. If you had to start from square one in business, what would you do differently?
Oh, I would have pretty quickly started. I would have gotten help for the areas that I'm not the strongest in. Instead of trying to do everything for myself for as long as I did, because it was
Okay.
probably eight years before I even brought on an assistant. And so
Okay.
once I started filling those holes in the areas of the parts of the business that I didn't enjoy, paperwork, IT work, social media. Um, I would have started bringing on help to do the things that I'm not as good at. I would have found people that are better
Right.
than me in those areas, filled that so that I could go deep and thrive in what I was good at, and that was sales and networking and relationship building.
Great. Great. So that's a great lesson learned. Thank you for sharing. So, what has been your biggest learnings as an employer since you began your business? So, you talk about you didn't have anybody for the first 8 years, then you started building a team, and now you've got a big team.
Yeah.
So, what's your biggest learnings from being an employer?
Wow. Um, I treat people, when we hire people, That's a great question. There's so many. Um, team is I call myself team built, not or team made, not self made, right? Because the truth is when you get a good team, you can they will take you as far as you want to go if you get the right people in place. So I guess it's to make sure that people's values and where they want to go in life align with you before you hire them. Make sure that that's almost as important, if not more important, than their experience or skill level. I'd rather have someone that aligns with me from a culture standpoint and has the same values and the work ethic. I'd rather train that person from scratch than bring someone in with 10 years of experience that doesn't align with our values and our culture and where we want to go, if that makes sense.
That's that makes a lot of sense. Excellent point. So it's about the culture and the fit versus the skills, and you
Yeah.
can train the other, right?
Yep. If you can
Great.
find both, then you better jump on it.
Right. So one of
Yeah.
the things to touch on the same topic. So you talked about the qualities that you look for in employees. How do you foster a positive and productive work environment? You already talked about the qualities that you look for in employees, but how do you foster that ongoing and positive and productive work environment that makes them want to stay with you for so long?
Well, most of my team is virtual now. Since COVID, we
Okay.
went virtual. We really haven't come back from that because everyone likes it. And
Okay.
I have learned to be able um, that people, can be just as productive, more productive at times in their own environment, where they feel like they have the freedom to work at their own pace. They don't have, they don't have drive time. There's
Mhm.
just, I don't know, like this, it's really worked out. And I have a lot of moms. And I'm telling you, if you have a mom with a good work ethic, they're so grateful to be able to be home to take care of things around the house if needed, that they will put in extra hours for you and work harder than they ever would in the office. I don't know. There's something about it. So what I do is I offer them a lot of your employees to feel like you just turned it over to them and and they're on their own. So I offer them a lot of support. I'm very open to their needs. I try to cater their positions and tasks around their needs.
Gotcha.
If that's hard to explain. So some people might need to come in a little later. Some people might need to come in a little earlier. Some people might have special things going on in their lives that if they could, they would give it attention. And so I might give them time off of work for a day and not count it toward vacation if they're going to pull a Saturday. And I'm just very flexible. I want them to feel like they're very appreciated. Now, I have big expectations of them, and I don't micromanage, so they're expected to bring results. So I try to make them just feel like they're as important as the job is, and that I want them to have a good home life. So if that means that we can play a role in that to help, then great. Because the better your home life is, the better you are at work. And you know, for my employees, I want their lives to improve, not just you know make money.
Gotcha. So, sort of heard, if I can paraphrase a little bit, is that so you look for the right fit and the right culture, and in reciprocating to that, when you find the right people, the right culture, you're
Hmm.
flexible with them because you know they'll get the job done. And as long as they respect
Yeah,
those boundaries and the results, you can be as flexible as you can be
yeah,
as the employer.
and they
Great.
give it back to me
Yeah.
too,
Yeah.
right?
That
They'll
creates
give me,
loyalty.
yeah, it creates loyalty, and they give it back to me too. They give me the same understanding and flexibility if I need it. If something's going on, they'll pick up the slack for other team members because they don't want that problem to trickle down to me because they know I got my own stuff going on. And
Right.
so it's like everyone covers everybody when you're in that kind of environment. Everyone wants, everyone knows if you're successful, that means the rest of the team members are successful and happy because we're all a link in the chain. And so that's kind of the culture and environment we create. So,
Gotcha.
yeah.
All right. Well, shifting gears and going back to your early days in business all the way through today.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people have asked you about your experience and have asked you for advice, what have you. What are
Yeah.
some of the misconceptions about running a business and how do you address them?
The biggest shocker to me was, so I always looked at myself, and this might sound a little arrogant, but it's just how I looked at myself, is like
Mhm.
a rock star real estate guy, right?
Okay.
I was good, man. People asked me for advice. I was part of masterminds and
Hmm.
high level people from all over the country. And so I'm like, I'm going to start a business and blow this thing up. And,
Right.
a year or two into the business, I was not having the success I thought I was going to have.
Hmm.
Long story short is I realized that being a business owner, well, so if you're a real estate car, you're a rock star real estate investor or flipper or realtor or loan officer or whatever your position is, you can be great at it. And then you go start a business. And what I learned is it's a whole nother trade. It's not even the same thing at all. You can be a great real estate guy and a bad business owner, just because you can sell a lot of houses doesn't mean you're going to hire a team around that and sell 10x the houses. So I had to step back and learn how to run a business, learn how to be a leader for others, and learn how to communicate well. And then, before my business really took off. So I had to be humbled. So I don't know if
Okay.
that answers your question.
No, that's a good question because
Yeah,
if you read books such as the E Myth, right, they talk about
yeah,
um, every entrepreneur has what they call an entrepreneurial seizure,
yeah,
and I'm a good rock star real estate agent, right? And so I therefore want to start my own business. Well, you're a really strong technician in that real estate business, broker business. But the other
yeah,
side of the business is some of the things you talked about. You like to delegate, timesheets,
yeah,
paperwork, all the books, things like that. Someone else has to augment and help you. And what happens is a lot of times people will bring those home and their spouse gets drafted. And now your dream becomes a little bit of their nightmare.
yeah,
And then they're not able to do those things. So what I heard from you is, you overcame those by hiring some people, right? 8 years in, you
yeah,
hired a person, it started working out. So then you become the business person, right? Because 8 years of knocking your head against the wall a little bit probably taught you a little bit of that. And you were humbled, like you said.
yeah,
So that makes
yeah.
sense.
I had to be humbled and then go back and start asking a lot of questions to the people in my network that were doing
Mhm.
it and get on a lot of podcasts and do a little coaching and be a student again.
Yep. And that's the way the world works. And you found a nice niche where somebody wasn't delivering what they needed to do. Actually, a lot of places weren't delivering what they needed to, but charging probably more than you were and
Yep,
not giving the results. So,
yep,
so we did talk a little bit about your growth. We talked about your growth early, moving on from, over 110 houses to 500 to 1,000. What do you attribute your growth to? And if you've already answered some of that, then what do you attribute to getting double the size going forward? Or you can answer both questions. So,
well,
you know,
I attribute
yeah,
it to the team for
yep.
sure.
Mhm,
Okay,
mhm,
so we've already answered a little bit of that. It's just having a team that is good and then has that mind that wants to work, wants to have success. Can't, you know, the type of people that take their work to bed. Like they can't, they dream about it. If
yeah,
it's
right.
give them nightmares if they don't got it done. Now, I
Yeah,
don't want
yeah,
them to do that. I
yeah,
want to create, and when they get like that, I'll start getting them help. But
yeah,
the point is they're that type of people, right? And they're
right,
all invested in each other, right?
right.
So, um, that is my number one key. But it's just I'm going back to basics is why I grew it. I did that in a year. I have 150 to 500 doors.
Wow.
And it went back to me because I didn't decide to start growing the management company until about a year and a half, 2 years ago. Before that, I just had like 50 clients and then the rest were mine.
Mhm.
And it was just, I picked up those 50 clients accidentally. Just, I'd sell people houses and they'd say, okay, I want you to keep the management, or I'll only buy them if you manage them, things like that. Um, is I just went back, I started picking up the phones, man, and started offering people help. Hey, other real estate investors, real estate agents, people that I knew that might be able to help me find more doors. And I'd
Right.
say, this is what I'm doing. Hey, tell me about what you're doing because I've got a lot of resources, and just seeing how I can help um and offer, whatever I have to them. But I'd say, but hey, and just you know, do you know anybody that has any doors that they self-manage? Like, you would have been a prime candidate for me to call, because I could have picked up that phone and said, Mike, are you tired of chasing rent,
Mhm.
getting calls in the middle of the night, or
Mhm.
dealing with a bad management company? And you've been like, yes, 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 and yes. And I'd be like, when I tell you my story, and you'd probably give me your doors to manage, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I just look for people like you to call, and then other people that I can help. I did no marketing dollars. I just called and started going to investment clubs and basically saying that. And when I first got in the business back in the 97 2000s, this only job I ever had was real estate. I right at 22 years old when I got in. Um, that's how you did it then, is you networked, man. You just
Right.
talked. Just
Right.
made personal, real
Right.
connections. There was none
Right.
of the internet. It didn't exist.
Right.
The best advertising you had was a Yellow Pages ad, right?
Yeah.
So
I
you
remember
were
those days.
Yeah, so you're out, man, and you're actually making personal connections. And I got a secret for everyone watching this.
Mm.
You will smoke your ROI on SEO, pay per click, or anywhere else if you just pick up the phone or go into some places, look people in the eye, shake their hands, see how you can help them, and then tell them what you need. I don't know what you want to call that, but that's how I grew that fast, and that's how I plan on continuing to grow it. Now I do some social media video marketing and stuff. I'll put videos out every day,
Mhm.
but that is not for that is not really intended to bring in customers. That's more branding. So when I talk to them, hopefully maybe they've already seen something I've done or know of me, so it just gives me instant credibility. Eventually, that combined with what I'm doing on the phone and on the streets, hopefully it will, start to double and triple my lead flow. But um, just old fashioned, man, building relationships with people and finding out what I can do to help them, and then having a team to back me up.
That's good. Those are great answers. Thank you. One of the things that I looked at when I was checking your website out, which is very impressive. One of the things I saw in here was the resident benefits package. Um, Tell us a bit about that, because as me being a little biased because I had rental properties, I,
Yeah.
I I thought that was a very interesting concept that you have. Can you tell us how you decide to develop that?
Yeah. Well, so it's helpful to the tenants, but really everything I do has a greater benefit for the owner. So
Mhm.
even on the residence benefits package, that's a package where they get air furnace filters mailed to them. They get their rent reported on their credit bureau, so that they can build a credit and toward buying someday. Um, there's gutter cleaning and there's other things that we offer these tenants and they pay for it. It's just like 30-40 bucks a month. Renter's insurance is included in it. But so that helps the tenants. But the real benefit is to the owners because their house is getting another level of care
Yeah, maintenance.
that,
Yeah.
yeah, um, that they're not going to call us about. They're not going to call us when the gutters are packed, right? They're
Right.
just not. That's not their gutters.
Right.
They're going to call you when the water starts overflowing over them and it goes into your basement,
Right.
but we want to catch it before that, right? So
Right.
we offer them incentives. We make it their responsibility to do things like clean gutters and change filters, but then we offer a service for a small fee that'll do it for them, which,
Right.
you know, the biggest cost in maintenance is, the biggest problems you can have is really water. Water coming in your house because we're in St.
Right.
Louis. And
Right.
there's mold and there's basements and um your HVAC system going out too fast because it's expensive, 7-8 grand. So
Right.
uh, changing the filters 3 or 4 times a year, we give them 5 filters a year.
Mhm.
Can add 5 years to the life of them. So
Right.
yeah, so that's
No,
why
those
we
are
do it.
really, I thought those were very unique, and it's great because a lot of renters don't think about the insurance. And if you think about, rather than have a $200 or $300 bill every couple, every three different months out of the year, you just find, you just pay it each month, and it just becomes part of your rent. I thought that was a very good opportunity that you had on your website there. So the big
Yeah,
question is, you got a family, right?
absolutely. Yep. Three
Yep.
boys.
So, all right. So I'm going to ask the big question, right? So, how do you balance your personal life with your business demands?
Um, that was really hard for a long time, but then I just committed to it one day and I said, this is the schedule I'm going to work, barring an emergency. And then I just was very intentional to start blocking off my schedule, started my day earlier so I could get more done. And I built my team
Mhm.
around my schedule.
Gotcha.
So, you know, um, I have VAs as well, virtual
Right.
assistants or remote
Mhm.
team members that will work. We have a couple of them that are scheduled on until 7 at night.
Okay.
They work 10 to 7, and that way, we have those extra extended hours for people to call. Our maintenance team handles the emergency maintenance line. Um, I just built it that way. Now I will
Right.
work some evenings when I have free time because it helps me get ahead, but
Mhm.
I schedule everything around my work, intentionally schedule it, block it on the calendar so I can get things done and then
Mhm.
and I have my day planned out each day so I know that I can maximize my time. And then I built the team to work around. We have Saturday employees so that everything's covered. So as I built the team, I made sure they could work within what I needed them to work so that I could be able to keep the schedule that I needed to keep.
Perfect.
That makes
Perfect.
sense? Yeah.
That makes great sense, and sounds to me like you have really great discipline in there to be able to do the events with your family and your children, and that makes a big impact. Because, like you said
Yeah.
earlier in your career, it probably wasn't true, and you're probably getting some funny looks from your spouse on why why you weren't there when you needed to be, right?
Yeah,
Which does
exactly.
happen.
Yeah.
So great. Thanks for sharing all those different pieces with us. So when you
Yeah.
think about, I'll ask you a couple questions. So one, when it got below zero and the wind chill was below zero the other day, I said, I'm so glad I sold my rental properties.
Yeah.
So I'm sure your numbers started dialing and calling up. So I did want to share that. Um, when you think about the real estate market, and I know you're being a little speculative now, but you've been in the real estate market for a long time. You know the ebbs
Yeah.
and flows, et cetera.
Hmm.
And I've heard from different ones as I sold a rental property that there's really a demand because there's not a lot of property, or there's not a lot of living places
Inventory.
for folks that are out there.
Yeah.
What do you attribute that to? What do you think's causing that shortage?
Oh, well, we've had a lack of inventory for going on about 14 years now. And it
Oh
all
wow.
comes from '08.
Okay.
It all started
Well, the
in '08.
meltdown. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Everything melted down. We were overbuilt then,
Okay.
right? Builders were going nuts. If you remember, those neighborhoods coming up around every
Right.
corner
Yeah.
and
Subdivisions everywhere. Yeah.
everywhere. And then that meltdown happened. Financing stopped overnight,
Mhm.
right? People builders and in mid build were cut off. Um,
Right.
Everything stopped. And then financing became really hard from there. And so, for 4 or 5 years, we were really recovering from that. So nothing was built,
Right.
right? So
Yeah.
the capacity for the United States is 1.5 million properties a year, new construction builds, 1.5
Wow.
million. So we can handle 1.5 million new homes being built a year. That is a healthy, mark to hit for the country. So we have been on an average between 600 and 700 on average for 14 years now. So do the math on how far we are behind.
Oh, wow.
So that's, that would be, so 15, that'd be about 18 nights. Let's just say 20 million houses should have been built in the last 14, 15 years.
Oh, wow.
And about 7 million have. So if we went gangbusters starting tomorrow, we would have to build 1.5 million. Let's say we could throw another million on there, which is never going to happen. That'd be 2.5 million, so we'd have, so that takes 7 years just to catch up.
Oh, wow.
So we're way behind. So that's why you see apartment buildings going up everywhere.
Mhm.
Renting is becoming so popular because there's not enough inventory out there.
Right. That's a great, that's the best report I've had. I've seen a lot on the news, and that makes the most sense of why um things have changed so much. And you're right, going back to the meltdown, I remember that having properties, I was a passive investor and worked full time at another company, but I bought, I had 6 rental properties and I own the majority, had a lot of equity in each one of them. And when the meltdown happened, it cut down any of the lines of credit that I had, home equity loans, because I would use that to buy the next one and help build it, etc. And then they came up with you couldn't own more than 6. And that really, there's a lot of houses sitting around with a lot of taxes not being collected. So looks like you were able to maneuver that very well and probably get
Yeah.
ahead a little bit from it. So
Well,
great.
that's when I bought all my rentals. It was between 11 and 15, 12 and 15. So,
Right. Gotcha. All right. Well, so tell us how we can contact you if someone, as someone watches this and says, "Hey, I'd
yeah.
really like to learn more about you." Tell us a little bit about your ways to contact you.
So you can always email me at jeff@homestretchpropertymanagement.com. Our website is homestretchpropertymanagement.com. We have Instagram, Homestretch
Mhm.
Property Management, YouTube, Facebook. You could reach me personally on my Instagram is rags to real estate. Um, so yeah, any of the socials, the internet, you can email me directly. Like I said, jeff@homestretchpropertymanagement.com. So yeah, love to help anyone. I'll jump on a call with someone personally and see if it's a fit or see if there's something I can help them with.
Great. I want to be sensitive to your time, and I appreciate you being scheduling in your busy schedule, especially with everything going on. And I want to thank you very much for being very candid and honest with all your answers. And you have quite a story of growing from, a real estate, super salesman to now a mecca property management company. So congratulations.
Yeah, I
And any
appreciate
last
that.
comments you want to leave with?
I appreciate your time. Thank you for having me on, and we're looking to grow. And so if there's anything I can do for you and anyone else, please reach out to me, and I'd be, more than happy to help anybody that you think would could use our services.
Thank you.